Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. My name's Sonia and here on this channel we talk about health, lifestyle, trends and travel. So if you're interested in those things, don't forget to subscribe below. Today we're doing a Zoom interview. How exciting! And we have a special guest with us today and it is Judy Howard Bath. Welcome, Judith.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. We're glad you could come and talk with us here on this channel because we love hearing about information and learning new things. So, Judith, you're a psychotherapist. Would you like to explain a little bit about what your role includes?
Of course. Well, please call me Judy because all my clients, no matter how small they are, they call me Judy. So a psychotherapist is essentially a talk therapist. What we do is we're very client-centered. So we go where the client leads us. We don't sort of direct and have a sort of a plan. We just sort of follow the rabbit down the rabbit hole, so to speak. So we don't impose upon the client where we think the direction of the session should go. But what a psychotherapist does is we're always looking for what is underneath. So we try and tend to look at and understand things that happened in the past, experiences that a person may have had, trauma that a person may have had, thinking, what they've internalized, and how those experiences and those influences are actually brought into the present, how it's impacting their lives at the moment, and obviously for the reason for why they're coming to see the therapist to begin with. Many of us draw on neurobiology, and that's pretty much how the brain works, and we use this in our work, and often it's by explaining to the client just how their brain may have been working at when those things were happening, how it was responding, and how that may have changed some of their thinking and actually be contributing to how they're acting right now.
So you have do psychotherapists have specialty areas? You have a specialty area that your focus is predominantly on. Is it children and
Yeah, so
adolescents?
I'm a child and adolescent psychotherapist, so you're perfectly right, Sonia. I don't often see adults. If I do, it's usually or mostly because they are actually trying to deal with early childhood experiences, early childhood trauma. So that's why I would see them. My specialty or my subspecialty is a thing called developmental trauma. So how the brain is impacted when bad things happen and how that skews development and how that impacts upon development moving forward and changes stuff, and how that then makes an impact on either the child or the adolescent or the grown up. So developmental trauma is a very specific area. Other therapists will deal with anxiety. I deal with anxiety as well because I see a huge range of children, but there might be other therapists that use other what we call modalities, so types of therapy. So some therapists are somatic therapists and they use lots of body stuff. Other therapists, like me, they'll use play therapy, but even more so with me.
Yeah,
So there's a whole range.
yeah.
Childhood is a time of exponential growth. It's a time of learning. It's a time of play. It's a time to grow and be confident and to grow, hopefully, within loving, good boundaries, good enough parenting environment. It's a time to feel safe and protected. And often the emerging adult, how healthy they are, will depend on the quality of those early years. So when you mentioned the age of 25 before, so that's an crucial age because we know that neurobiologically, which is a huge sort of long word, but all that means is brain biology wise, we know that we reach full brain maturity at the age of 25. So the last part of the brain to develop is that frontal part where we make all our decisions, and that happens, that reaches full brain. Interestingly, 25 for females, up to about 28 for guys. So a lot of us females would not be surprised by that. So just going back, sorry?
Give a little bit.
So going back to those early years, what we know, though, it used to be that the first 0 to 7 was when a child, we used to say that was the time of period of development. So then give me a child from 0 to 7 and I'll give you the man or the woman. But we know now with our latest research in the last 20 years, like what the 90s were known as the decade of the brain. So this huge growth happened in this industry in that period. We know now that it's actually the first 1,000 days that it is the most important for the development of child, and what gets laid down in those first 1,000 days is something that will influence them for the rest of their lives.
So when we're talking about 1,000 days, if we put it into years, it's like from 0 to 3 virtually years old. Wow. I mean, I have difficulty remembering anything back beyond virtually 3 years of age. So, our brain and how this all works is so interesting.
Absolutely. And you don't have to remember for it to be laid down in your brain. Most learning, a lot of that learning in the first 1,000 days is pre-verbal. It's actually not in the language, it's in the experience. It's in that interaction between the parent and the child, the interaction, the quality of those relationships. That's actually what gets laid down. And we can explore that. You and I can talk about that a lot more if you want. That is that area of what we call attachment, because that is very crucial to the developing child and ultimately the happy, healthy human or adult.
So childhood experiences like divorce, violence, broken relationships, are they the things that impact that 0 to 3 years, or is there something more? Are there other things that actually impact?
So that's actually a very good question. But to answer the question, I think we actually have to dispel one of the myths about childhood. And by doing that, I hope I will answer that question. And one of the most pervasive myths about childhood that often gets said, and particularly when something happens like a divorce or an event that actually affects the family, is that children are resilient. And that is a myth, actually, because only some children are resilient. Children that are grown up or have been raised in an environment that's loving and supportive, where there's good modelling between the parents, a concept of good enough parenting. There are no perfect parents, but this concept of good enough parenting. If those children experience an event like a divorce or an illness or a car accident or something like that, then and if the parents are cognizant of the needs of the children, those children will be resilient and they will bounce back. They will be okay moving forward. What children are malleable, which means their brains are able to be moulded and changed by experiences. So in that first 1,000 days, like I mentioned, we have this process that happens, these deep emotional bonds that get laid down between the primary caregiver and the baby, where the child actually seeks out the proximity of that person, particularly if they're frightened or tired or ill. And they develop this relationship. This is what we call attachment. So if a child is raised in a responsive environment, like when I said all those things happening before, loving, consistent parenting, so like baby cries, because they feel in their body that they're hungry, and all of a sudden, like magic, parent appears to feed the baby, soothe the baby. So the baby internalizes this sense that they are worth and they are loved. And obviously they don't think of it in those terms, but that's how they internalize this sense of self-worth. And it's in those relationships where we learn empathy, which is it's the beginning of empathy. We learn to self-soothe. So when things happen, we actually can calm ourselves down. We learn how to regulate. So we have this sense of love and care. And those qualities, like I said, are laid down very, very early, and they're internalized by the baby. So moving forward, how well they develop will be determined by the quality that the caregivers give them at that time. So, yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah. It's just, that's huge, isn't it? That first 3 years is really responsible for the rest of your life. Really, and how you are able to function and deal with things that happen.
That's exactly right. Yeah, so like I said, it's this good enough concept. So if this child develops in that with that loving, good enough parenting, and they internalize the fact that they have worth and cared for, and that the world and relationships are good, then that child develops what we call secure attachment. And secure attachment is a really, really good thing to have. So they learn that they feel loved, they're safe, and that they can be cared for. But that's only if the child experiences a loving, caring primary caregiver. If in those early relationships those experiences are less than ideal, if the primary caregiver is not responsive, if they are erratic or they are emotionally distant, then those unconscious patterns of attachment that get laid, what we call now anxious or insecure attachment, or even avoidant attachment, these experiences get laid and they create this sort of lack in the child, where the child is then always striving, particularly in anxious attachment, they're always striving to have their needs met. And that those children get stuck there, and this influences all future relationships. So you can see that this quality of the primary year, of this primary period, of this period of time, this first 1,000 days can have a profound impact on the people that we become, how we see ourselves, and really what we expect from other relationships. And then if we don't get it, how we try and meet those needs. So children who haven't had those early years met, they grow up always looking for it, always trying to meet the needs of the child within, or alternatively they become so switched off emotionally because they've learned that relationships are not nice, that relationships can't give you what they need, and so they just stop looking for it.
What behaviours, or even teachers in classrooms or concerned family members, what behaviours would we be seeing with a child having difficulties with this, so that we can get help and address these things? What things could they be displaying? How do we know they've got a problem?
I think often intuitively something may not be quite right. A teacher might pick it up in the child, or the parent might pick it up in the child. But it's generally if you notice a change. So if the child has been a certain way for a lot of their lives, their young lives, and a change has happened, then we know that we can sort of determine that something's gone awry somewhere. A child might start bedwetting, and bedwetting can be a behaviour showing that there is distress there. They might get angry a lot. Maybe the child was always angry. And if you think about childhood, children shouldn't be angry. Children who grow up in happy, healthy homes should not be angry. So if they're presenting to the school and these children are angry and aggressive, then we can sort of say, oh, something's actually gone awry there. Some need hasn't been met. Some self-soothing hasn't happened. For little ones, they can be constipated. That actually can, if all of a sudden a child is constipated, that actually can be an indicator. I mean, obviously there are other reasons for constipation in children, but that can be something that needs to be explored. Or if, and this would be bad, if a child was emotionally detached, that actually would be a sign that something seriously has gone wrong somewhere. The other thing is if the child is always good, always good. Children, sorry to say, should not always be good.
Oh, oh, don't we love a perfect child? Is there such a thing? No, no. Well, because children are naturally inquisitive and, into different things, and our role as a parent is to place boundaries, but to let them be children, but place safe boundaries. So, yeah, they have to be in trouble at some time, don't they?
They do, because they're working out who they are. They push their boundaries. They're not going to be a mini you or a mini me. They're exploratory. And you'll notice with a 2-year-old or 3-year-old child, they'll start to move away from their parent, and then they'll come back to make sure that the parent's there, and then they move away a little bit further. And that is duplicated also in teenage years. Obviously, they move away a lot further, but they always want the good parent there, the anchor. And that's a sign of good attachment. When children are able to have that curiosity to venture forward, children who are anxious, who have anxious attachment, don't tend to do that. They don't tend to move away. They cling. Or you've got children who have avoidant attachment. If the parent moves away, they don't care. They don't care. They're not distressed if the parent moves away. So if you're witnessing those type of things, you can sort of think, oh, something's not right there. I mean, obviously, clearly there are some behaviours that you need to take immediate action with. If a young child is actually acting out sexually, that is something that it certainly sends a big red flag, as we know.
Yeah.
And that would need immediate attention.
So when a child comes to you, and your role is to treat them, how do you do that with children? Like,
Okay, yeah, it's another very good question. Well, this is the difference, I guess, between an adult therapist and a child therapist. A child therapist, children under the age of 12 do not, abstract concepts are a little bit beyond them. They tend to think, in concrete ways. And so talk therapy for those type of children is probably, I mean, some kids like to talk, but some kids don't, and mostly children like to play. And so what child and adolescent therapists do, we play a lot. We play with bubbles, we play with dolls, we play with lightsabers, we play with dolls' houses.
oh, wow.
A lot of us use, I know, it's fun.
So fun. Hey?
A lot of us, yeah, a lot of us use sand a lot. We use sand a lot, and children make up stories in the sand. And when that happens, what we're trying to do is we're trying to see what actually comes up in those stories that the child creates. So we have the distress that might be buried deep down starts to come into the fore in the games that the child plays. And a good therapist will gently ask questions about what's happening. Some therapists don't say anything at all. They will let the child just run with the game. But what we're looking for is to create a safe therapeutic environment where the child feels safe, they feel cared for, and they feel supported, that they can act out what is happening for them. Now, some children will chat. Some children will draw. Some, like I said before, I've been, had so many games with lightsabers and things like that where I'm supposed to lose all the time. And sometimes I win.
Yes.
But this is what a child and adolescent therapist does. For the teenagers, we might do a lot of talking. We might tell them how their brain works and why it is responding the way it is, particularly if they're in a constant state of anxiety. Yeah, so it's a little different. Adult therapists often, if they're a talk therapist, will engage in dialogue, whereas a child and adolescent therapist, not so much.
More in play and letting the child play
Explore.
and explore
Yeah, it's exploring.
and tell you
It's
things
actually
through their play. Because kids talk about stuff
absolutely.
too.
That's right. And we see. I could show you many. I'm just thinking I've got some over there. Many drawings of children. Asking a child to draw him or herself will tell you volumes about how they feel about themselves.
Yeah.
I can think now of a story. It's actually quite a known drawing of a little boy drawing his how he felt about himself, and it's just black all over, just all rubbed out, just black. And we can tell a lot by children's drawings because their experiences may not be able to be articulated. Their early childhood experiences may not be able to be verbalized, but it comes out in play, how they set up a doll's house, who the hero of the story is, who the hero is not in the story, can be illuminating. Who, if you ask a child to do their family, a story of their family, who they've actually included, what characters they choose.
Yeah.
I remember a little boy's dad was a dinosaur and mum was the fairy princess. And I remember one child who wouldn't put his father, and it could be any person, but the father, he wouldn't even actually put him in the sand tray. He wanted to put him right on the other side of the room. That speaks volumes, for us as therapists. So, yeah, that's how we work.
And, working with children, you get to interact with family or parents as well, and primary caregivers as well as part of your therapy, finding out information that you need, really. If a child's young, they can't express things, so knowing a little bit of what's happened in the past, or so working with parents is very important as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, it's ideal. Parents engaged in the therapy is crucial for the future health of the child. Parents who you engage with, you can share with them what you actually have seen. That changes, though, I must admit, with dependent on the age of the child. Children under the age of 12, yes, but children who are in those teen years, we tend to enter into some sort of contract with the parents, that the parents know that we won't be telling them everything. Obviously, we're going to share with them if something is, the child's in danger or at risk, but teenagers won't tell you or won't share information with you if they feel that you're going to be, telling the parents everything. But we develop that trusting relationship with the parents. But yes, they're absolutely crucial. It's ideal if the parents are involved. However, that's not always the case. And sometimes parents themselves need to go off and get some good help. They might need to deal with their own anxiety and their own anger first before they actually can come back and then be there in that loving, supportive, consistent way for their child. So, yes, it's the family unit as a whole that we would prefer to work with. Because that is where true healing will happen for the child within that family unit. Yes.
So I can imagine, for some parents who weren't available in that 0 to 3 years time, that there may be guilt, for them, or shame that they haven't been as good as they could have or should have been,
of course.
So what you're saying is they may also need to go and help and get some issues resolved themselves. So that's important as well to know that it's about creating a healthy family unit from wherever you're starting then, I guess, as well, isn't it? Like to mend, you know, the child who's out and the parent as well, you know, if that's been the
That's right. Well, that's right. And let's be clear, this is not a blame game. This is not most parents are doing the very best they can. Most of us are doing the very best they can in our lives. But sadly,
messy, doesn't it? Like sometimes, you know,
absolutely,
parenting doesn't come with a book, a manual that we can refer to if child's doing this, or you know, life happens while we have, you know, raise our children, and sometimes it's not always a good experience for some parents.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's not a blame game. And there are things that can happen. Things that happen in life, as you say, life is messy. So you can have divorce and you can have separation. But you also can have illness, or there could be an accident, or there could be a bushfire, or there could be social isolation, which is what we're experiencing at the moment. There could be all the stresses. There could be a bankruptcy. There could also be postnatal depression. And those women who experience that need to be supported and affirmed and get really great help. But if that happens in those formative years, what you have, any of those things, what you have is parents who are not freely available to meet the needs of that developing brain. And so it's not a blame game, but what we might find is there are gaps. There are issues that we need to deal with. We need to go back. We need to repair. And repair can be done, absolutely. So, life is messy. But having said that, there certainly are parents out there who are less than ideal, who are abusive, who are angry, who are even may not present as that. One of the reasons for high anxiety in children, particularly some children, is overstructured routines where children do not have free play, where children are having to learn all the time, be tutored all the time, all of those things, and they aren't free to be children. That actually can cause damage and cause high anxiety in children. And yet we know those parents are probably just trying to do the very best for their children. So it's I think if you don't know, seek out some information, read some good books. There's some great books out there, or seek a professional like myself.
Yes. Well, there are resources available for parents. Yes. There's parenting seminars, there's resources, books, online tutorials, things like that. And, you know, if a parent wanted to find some information, or say if a parent actually would like to seek out, they had a child who had a problem, how would they go about finding help for that? What resources would they need? Like, where could they go to have a look, to find someone?
So there's some good resources, some very, very good resources online. There are, if you're wanting to find a therapist, what you would do is you'd probably find you look up a body that is registers therapists or counsellors. So there's groups like PACFA, there's ARCARP, there's the one that I'm registered with, which is the Australian Counselling Association, and you can go onto those websites. You can put in the area you live in, you can put in that you want to actually have a child therapist or an adult therapist, or someone who specialises in family therapy or parenting, and then you can get good names that way. But there are so many self-help books around about parenting, some great names out there. We have some fantastic names within Australia about really, really good therapists. People by the names of like it's just gone from me now. But some really, really good. Steve Biddulph is what I'm trying to say. We have some really great names out there, some great organisations. You've got Headspace, you've got for trauma, you've got the Australian Childhood Foundation. So if you just put in the field of Google, what you're looking for. Good child therapist. A lot of therapists, a lot of psychotherapists, a lot of psychologists, we advertise. And the other thing is word of mouth.
Yeah.
And the other thing is ask your school. Ask your school. They probably do know. Even your GP. Your GP will know of some. And go to someone and talk to them on the phone and find out what their fees are, find out what their experience, make sure they're registered, make sure they have the qualifications, see how you feel about them. If you don't like the sound of them and what they do, move on, because that therapeutic relationship is crucial. Someone that you feel you can trust with your child and someone who's actually going to relate with you as well. So there's lots and lots of good information out there.
Well, that sounds great. Thank you so much for being with us today, Judy. We love listening to and learning new things. And I just, for our children and for our community and families to be functioning well and to be empathetic.
Yes.
And to be, as adults, be able to be resilient in our relationships with each other and know how to solve problems. It's all very important. So thank you very much for being with us on my YouTube channel. And we actually have another session as well, which will be on trauma, and we look forward to seeing you for that. So if you haven't subscribed below, and we'll see you next week. Bye.